All right, here we go. It is Flyers pregame, Flyers game day. Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus. Flyers Sharks tonight, late night action. How you feeling, man?
Right now, I'm awake, so we'll see. We'll see where that takes us. Hopefully we got a second win coming here. I don't know. I can't imagine that we're as dragging as much as the hockey team is, but it's one of those little quirks in the schedule, right? So hopefully we all manage to pull through another edition of Hockey After Dark. At least it's not New Year's Eve. We've had that before.
Well, here's the thing, like it's like we don't get to bed until we don't get to bed right after the game. We have stuff we have to do after the game, so we get to bed late. But the team had to travel last night. Like, I can't imagine trying to play a hockey game tonight.
Yeah, well, you want to hear how that went. I don't know if anybody is regularly keeping up with the weather in Seattle. I certainly do not. But
yeah, they got 3 inches of snow.
They had snow last night, and the the short version of it is the Flyers didn't get to their hotel in San Jose till about 4:30 in the morning.
Which, San Jose time?
Yeah, which is 7:30 here. They had to basically sit on the plane, I think, for a little while before it took off, and then you can't fly into San Jose's airport after midnight, apparently. So instead of flying to San Jose, the Flyers had to fly to Oakland, and then they had to drive from Oakland to San Jose, which is not exactly close. I think it's about 45 minutes. So yeah, it was definitely a long night of travel for them. We were talking with Timmy earlier. He called it one for the books. I'm sure he'll get into that a little bit more in the broadcast tonight. But yeah, it sounds like it was a long night for them.
Wow. Yeah, I had John Forsland on my Stick to Hockey live show today, and he's like, yeah, the people out here are freaking out. They're getting a blizzard. 3 inches of snow came.
What are we going to do?
Yeah. What do you do with 3 inches of snow? Oh, my God, shut it down. But we got more disturbing injury news today, Bri, just prior to the game. It's a significant player, and it's Sean Couturier, who actually right now is on COVID protocol, unavailable, but he's also now been added to injured reserve and is week to week with an upper body injury. And just when you thought, you start to feel pretty good about where the team's going and blah, blah, blah. Now, very key component is going to be out. And I guess we all kind of knew there was something wrong with him, but we didn't know the extent of it.
Yeah, there's two things there. And one is that when he was put on protocol on the 26th, he was actually put on retroactive to the 21st, which was before the break. So that tells me his testing came back positive back then. So I think he's almost out of it now based on what the current situation is. But I'm trying to think if I'm just making this up or if this actually happened. If we saw him go to the bench a little bit gingerly in that last game on the 18th against Ottawa, does that sound familiar?
I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I think that happened. And he didn't leave the game or anything, but there was one point where it's like, oh, he's that didn't look good or something like that. So I guess it's related to whatever that is. I think the good news, if there is any good news to something like this, is that whatever it is, he's already had, 10 days to work on it.
Significant recovery.
So it's not like this just happened. I think this is more than a week old. So we're hoping that it won't end up being much longer than it actually is. But again, everybody's missing somebody right now, it seems, in this league. The Sharks have dressed at least 4 players tonight that I've never heard of. It's I guess if there's any good time for something like this to happen, it'd be now.
Yeah, and that's a good point you make, because the last game he played was December 18th against the Devils, or not the Devils. Who the heck was that?
Senators.
Senators, yeah, that overtime win. And that's been now 12 days. That's almost 2 weeks ago. So
right.
Hopefully he can come back very soon. Like I think you're right I imagine he's basically clearing protocol at this point from the COVID-19 protocols. So that'll be good news to get him back. But when is that going to be? And, you almost go, okay, I can handle guys being in and out of the lineup for COVID-19 protocols. I don't want to compound it with actual injury too,
Well, I guess you get them both out of the way at the same time, right?
Yeah, two birds with one stone.
While you're rehabbing your injury, you go ahead and get your COVID, and then you're good for 90 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
You're probably right.
Isn't this a great time that we live in?
Yeah, it's like, when we're compounding bad news together to make it good, that's pretty sad, but that's where we are. Tonight, we speculated about it last night in the postgame show, based on the workload that Martin Jones saw, 34 saves on 36 shots, a lot of zone time for Seattle last night, in particular in those first two periods where they outpossessed the Flyers, was like 57% or something.
Yes.
But tonight it is not going to be Martin Jones against his former team. I'm sure he's disappointed in a way, but it's going to be Felix Sandstrom making his NHL debut tonight. That's an interesting element of this game.
Yeah, it really is. And we were talking before the game that we wouldn't be surprised to see a back-to-back. And then after the game, it became, it just felt like it was going to be less likely, right? We thought even though there weren't a ton of shots at him, it felt like that was just a heavy game. And Mike Yeo, before the game tonight, talking with the media, referenced that, these guys, the sports science that goes on right now around the NHL, they know when a guy's got a heavy workload, they know kind of what he dealt with in a game. And he said that the load numbers on Martin Jones just came back really heavy. So that was, as much as they would have liked to have him play this game tonight, they just couldn't do it, because it's not only this game, but they got to think about Los Angeles as well in just 2 days after that travel from last night. And, he had basically what Mike's position was that he had to play that first game, because on a trip like this, the first game is really important in getting you off on the right foot. So, it's unfortunate the way the schedule fell that he doesn't get to play the game, but it's pretty much best for everybody, with the, exception, of course, of giving him an opportunity against his old team.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
you know what? At the same time, they're coming up in 10 days. They're going to be back here, so maybe
January 8th.
Yeah.
It's the second game of the homestand. If they return, they'll see Pittsburgh January 6th, then they'll get San Jose on January 8th.
Right.
I mean, you would like to go on into the building where, was your home building for so long too, but, this isn't an ideal world right now. And the sports science is pretty important, because it shows exertion levels and all that stuff. And you're just more susceptible to injury if you've gone beyond a certain workload and exertion level as well.
And it's not just Martin Jones either. They've gone to the, they've gone to the well, and they're going to put Jackson Cates in the lineup tonight. Nick Seeler's going to draw in. So they're trying to draw in fresh legs all up and down the lineup. It's not just the goaltending situation. So.
Yeah, I mean, as many fresh legs as you can get when you're in a condensed schedule situation is advantageous. And when you're taking out Jerry Mayhew for Jackson Cates, it's not like you're taking out Claude Giroux for Jackson Cates.
Right, yeah.
So let's kind of call it like we say it here. Claude Giroux is going to play in this game. The Sharks right now, I mean, they got off to a pretty good start to the season. It's going to be James Reimer, by the way, for the Sharks tonight. Sharks got off to a pretty good start to the season, but boy, they just haven't been able to maintain it. And then maybe they're just a team that's not capable of maintaining it. They've got 2 wins in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. And the last game they played was all the way back on December 16th, but then they did get a game in on Tuesday night against Arizona. That was an 8-7 shootout win. I mean, talk about defense. There wasn't much of it in that one, and Reimer was in goal for that one, so he's looking to redeem himself, and keep the other team under a touchdown here.
I'd have to go look and see who Arizona came up with that can score 7 goals. That's stunning. They were when the Flyers got to them, what was it now, 3 weeks ago, they were averaging like 1.6 goals per game over the whole season. So that's pretty remarkable for them. But Reimer's been good. 10-5-1, 2.29 goals against average, 9.26 save percentage. Those are really good numbers. Anyway you slice it. I know that when we were starting this season, there were a bunch of teams that were doing things that were like, wow, I didn't think those teams were going to do that. And San Jose was one of them. Perhaps maybe they've fallen back to earth a little bit. I don't know. But, they've been kind of struggling these last couple of years, and certainly trying to fix that, I guess, on the fly, if you will. But still a lot of names on this roster that you're synonymous with the Sharks. I mean, Logan Couture is still doing it. Timo Meier, they're 2 leading scorers. They still have definite threats up and down the lineup, and they've had things kind of working their way this year. When they sat down to get ready for this game, I was a little bit surprised at their record, to be honest with you. But they're they've got a lot of weapons. They like to put the puck on net from every possible angle. They're coming down the middle a ton. So the Flyers are pretty much hoping to try to quell that. And let's be honest here. Flyers are going to be in a situation tonight where they've got to play one of those boring games where they just try to grind out a road win. This is not going to be. If the Flyers manage to win this game tonight, they're not going to be winning it in pretty fashion. They're going to be doing it on trying to be a difficult team to play against and capitalize on whatever opportunities they can get.
Yeah, I mean, the turnover in San Jose the last couple of years, too. It's no longer the Thornton, Marlowe, and Pavelski team, but there are still some familiar faces. I mean, Brent Burns, still a fixture on that blue line. Obviously, you look at a guy like Erik Karlsson still there as well. So they got a couple guys defensively that can activate. You got to be aware when those two players are on the ice because they can transition from defense to offense like that, like a snap of a finger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then, Erik Karlsson still has that threat from the blue line. To me, he's a guy that you want to try to take advantage of defensively. He always kind of has been. But he's always been a threat offensively, from up top or even jumping down into the play. So, just another
passing
guy
too.
Just another guy that you've got to worry about. We talked a lot about the Flyers being on a roll when this early Christmas break hit, and that was a shame. For San Jose, it's kind of the opposite. I mean, they had lost 5 of their last 7 before that break, and so hitting that break, they're kind of hoping was a reset. I don't know if you can tell from an 8-7 win over the worst team in the league if that's a reset or not, but they're definitely going to be the more rested team tonight. They have been off the road for some time now, and for a Pacific Division team to be able to get a lot of time at home, and now this is the second home game in a row for them before they start on that trip that you were talking about. They'll come to Philadelphia. That'll actually be the 4th game in a 4-game Eastern time zone road trip for them. So they're trying to get 2 more points here before things get a little bit difficult on their side of things.
Yeah, they're going to head to Pittsburgh, Detroit, Buffalo, and then to Philadelphia to take on the Flyers before returning home on January 11th. So it'll be Reimer tonight versus Sandstrom. And backing up will be Martin Jones. Kirill Ustimenko is the taxi squad goaltender. As far as I know, he is not activated. But it's going to be a very interesting game tonight because, is the theory a little bit here is that a goaltender that nobody's seen is kind of like a pitcher that no batter has seen yet. They don't really know the book on them, where to attack the goaltender, where's his weakness. And he hasn't even been in the American League long enough really to develop a book there on the smaller sheet of ice, period, end of sentence. So I guess this is a bit of a guessing game, I think, for San Jose, but you just go tried and true. Traffic around them, get pucks to the net, get bodies there, deflections, rebounds.
Yeah, the guy that always jumps out at me when we talk about stuff like this is Sergey Bobrowski. He came here to North America. Flyers picked him up. I forget even where they found him, but he showed up here in summer of 2010, and even his own teammates couldn't beat him, and they didn't know who he was. and then he comes in here in the preseason and he's going post to post on guys, and we're up here in the press box going, "Wow, who's that guy?" Yeah. And then it's so he dominated for a while, and then, like you said, other teams got a book on him, and they were able to figure out ways to beat him. And his game started to fall off a little bit. And hindsight being 2020, the Flyers made the wrong decision there at the time in terms of their goaltending. They decided to go in a different direction, and he ends up in Columbus. And when he did so, he was able to fix the things that people got the book on, and he ended up winning the Vezina Trophy. So you're right. Hopefully, Sandstrom can kind of ride that a little bit here, give him some confidence. This has been a long time coming. This isn't just a fresh apple off the tree here. This is a 2015 draft pick, so he has been in the Flyers system now for 6.5 years, and finally getting this opportunity here this evening. So there's no doubt that he's ready for it. He's 24 years old. It's not like it's a guy like when Carter Hart made his debut. Even though we weren't concerned about him because he's so wise beyond his years. It's not a teenager here. We're talking to a guy with a little more experience. So he should be able to handle it well tonight.
It's interesting. Every year in camp, and especially this year in camp, it just seemed like there was a marked difference in his game, in the way he was kind of approaching and reading plays, and that just shows that adjustment from the big ice to the little ice is something that takes time. And once you get it, then you can fall back onto your instincts of goaltending and play reading. But it does take some time, because that bigger ice is a totally different spatial awareness. And at the National Hockey League level, on the smaller ice, you can get pucks from anywhere, and they're not far from the net, and every guy can shoot it. So you always have to be. I mean, when they cross basically the red line, you have to be fully engaged mentally for the most part as a goalie in the NHL, because if you're not, they can throw a puck, or they can have a quick backdoor play, and if you're not reading it properly or noticing that threat's there, you are cooked.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said a moment ago, he hasn't had a ton of time in North America either. He's only played about 50 games, a little bit less than that, on North American ice at the professional level. He played 7 full years of really top-level hockey in Sweden. He played in the Swedish Elite League then. Now it's just the Swedish Hockey League. It's the top men's league in Sweden. He played in that league for most of 4 seasons as a very young goaltender. And again, you're getting used to close to NHL caliber hockey, at least Olympic caliber.
They're
hockey.
men, though. Yeah,
against men
kids. Yeah.
On the wider ice. So your angles are all weird, and it's hard to tell where the puck is coming from when you get here, and all of a sudden, you have 15 less feet of width on your ice surface. So, his numbers definitely did start to come around a little bit. He has been on a Lehigh Valley team this year that obviously has not had the greatest of seasons. 3.73, 3.08 goals against average is his lowest goals against average to this point in North America. So you can see his game coming around a little bit, and now we'll get to see what he can do at the NHL level.
Yeah, and it seemed like every time he was starting to get into a groove, there would be something that happened, whether it was the pandemic, or whether it was injury, or whether it was whatever, right? And he just couldn't get any repetition. Then last year he started to build up a good run of a amount of games and just getting on the ice here, and it's benefited him. And he's going to be a big storyline to this game tonight. And the other thing, Bri, I guess we're getting ready. Are we getting ready to join the network? I don't have a time yet. Let me see if let's check on that before we get into.
I left my phone over there.
Hello. We just want to
welcome behind the curtain, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we have a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah, we have 1 minute, Brian, until we join the network. Right. So we'll join the network in just a moment. So I'm going to wait to bring up for that minute to bring up the point I wanted to make, because it's so poignant. Even on my sleep-deprived mind, I have a poignant point to make here.
Oh, why? Here we go.
Well, enjoy it on the pregame show, because I don't think you're going to get it at intermission or postgame.
Because they're going to be asleep by then.
I'm hoping the team finds a way to buoy our energy level. And maybe it's Felix Sandstrom that buoys our energy level.
Hey, yeah. You got to win it for the new goalie, right?
Yeah, and it's an intriguing factor in this game. Plus, I can't wait to hear Tim complain about the flight and the travel. So I got a couple things I'm looking forward to. Beyond that,
I got to tell Coates, make sure you ask Timmy how his flight was on the broadcast.
I was supposed to be there. It was terrible.
Yeah, there's Coates in the background. He's glad he wasn't on that flight, that's for sure. COVID excluded, but we'll get ready.
Technology great.
Oh, it is. What did you say there, Rye? I heard my thing click. I don't have any return.
Ready?
All right, we are live. It is the Flyers pregame show. I don't have any return, Ryan, just to let you know. But I heard you say that we're live, and we are live on the Flyers pregame show, Flyers Game Day, on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Jason Myrtetus, Brian Smith, and we've been doing the streaming show, and I had a poignant point I wanted to make, and I wanted to wait for the radio audience. And here it is, Brian. Tell me if you think this was worth holding over. The Flyers need to have a much better first and second period than they had last night, because You ain't going to get away with that very often.
What a great idea! Yes, they do. They need a better one. We talked a little bit about it last night. Is that if that was going to happen, at least it was happening against the Seattle Kraken and not a run and gun top level team. But this is definitely a better squad, and the Flyers did have some travel woes last night. They got into their hotel in San Jose about 4:30 a.m. Pacific time, which was around the time some of us were getting up back here. So it's one of those nights. This is a game where they're going to have to just make it a boring road game. They're going to have to be a grinding team, difficult to play against, and take advantage of the opportunities when they're presented to them. Because if they're able to pull this one out tonight under these circumstances, it is going to be one of those quote unquote ugly wins. So that'll be good enough for them if they can just take away the points.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be so key. The Flyers now have this 6-game point streak, and they've been getting it done ever since the 10-game winless streak. They are collecting points in the 6 games, Bri. There's been a possible 12 points. They've got 11 of them. The only one they gave up was that overtime or shootout loss, rather, against the Montreal Canadiens on that Thursday night when no fans were allowed in the Bell Center.
Yeah, and that was a weird night. We were talking about it again last night. Is that how much of a creature of habit hockey players are, and even little things like that. And the Flyers finding out when they left for Montreal the day before that we were going back into COVID protocols with in terms of staying in the hotel and stuff like that. I mean, that does mess you up. So, it is a weird situation they're going through right now. But the best way to approach it is just to go in and take it game by game, 2 points by 2 points, and gather as many of them as you can, like a squirrel hunting nuts for the winter. Just trying to keep the momentum going as much as you can. This is a very strange time that we're in right now across the board, still in this league, with players coming and going off of protocol, and now the Sean Couturier news of earlier today. So it's a next man up mentality. It's a fight through it mentality, and get another couple of points tonight.
It's amazing. The Flyers they didn't turn around in game 1 of Mike Yo's tenure. They played the night he basically was handed the interim job against the Colorado Avalanche, and then they lost that game 3-0 to the New Jersey Devils. But they're on this run right now. You look at a team like Vancouver, who, by the way, since Bruce Boudreau's been hired, they've gone 7-0. And, it's the coaching change thing, and it's bearing fruit once again that for some odd reason in hockey, it works as a great tool for general managers to reset and get their team pointed in the right direction. Is it sustainable? We'll find out for both Vancouver Flyers and whoever may terminate a coach at some point in this season. But for the two teams that have done it so far, it's worked.
Yeah, and it always seems to work. And again, I'm not involved in the day-to-day of hockey operations or anything like that, but it just seems to me that it's just a fresh perspective. Just changes things within a group. And I actually asked somebody, why a coach wouldn't have maybe, especially a veteran coach in this league, why wouldn't you have developed by now like 3 or 4 different sets of systems that can be interchangeable? And sometimes it just comes down to, habits and egos. And so that's why sometimes when you get another perspective in there, whether it's a perspective on a system or a perspective on how you're using a specific player, or a specific line, it just kind of, stirs the pot a little bit and gets things going again. And, we've seen it happen so many times in this league. The most notable one recently is Craig Berube with the St. Louis Blues from last place to a Stanley Cup. I mean, it is kind of interesting. I'd love to see somebody take a deeper dive into why that works so well sometimes. But, it's working right now for Bruce Boudreau, definitely, and the Flyers are seeing, some of it as well.
And one of the guys that cited, the difference in usage and maybe philosophy and it helping him is James Van Riemsdyk. And in his last 6 games, how about 5 goals for JVR? And we know he's a streaky scorer, but when you can get supplemental offense and scoring from James Van Riemsdyk, that's a huge factor. He was a big factor in that game last night. Martin Jones was a big catalyst to keep him in it to be able to get the win, but JVR scoring the opening goal of the game and then the goal 15 seconds after Seattle grabbed that lead in the third period was huge, and he nets 2 last night.
Yeah, and he said as much sometime in the last couple of games. He said afterwards that he feels like he's being used differently than he was before. And when you're a young player and you feel that, maybe it's not too much of a big deal. But when you're a veteran like James Van Riemsdyk is, and you can tell that you're being used differently, then there's probably something to that. And so whatever's different is definitely clicking for him. Obviously, Oscar Lindblom got boosted up, and that kind of paid off for him. And both Mike Yeo and Travis Connectney think the TK is about ready to break out as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and TK was obviously a bit pesky last night. A little less sleep tonight. We'll see how that part of the equation plays out. Stay tuned. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they've got the countdown to face off and all the action from San Jose as the Flyers will take on the Sharks. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day with Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus, right here on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Enjoy your hockey, everybody. Yeah, I have no sound. I couldn't hear Brian either. I can hear you, but I can't hear